to start off our third leadership conference.
Yeah, Tilia, thank you so much, and a huge welcome to everyone. It may well be that we'll have a few people sort of trickling in as the morning goes on. But yeah, huge welcome to everyone. My name's Mel Hughes. I'm Professor of Social Work at Bournemouth University. And Tilia's asked me to kind of provide a bit of a welcome before kind of handing back to her to go through the programme for the day. I think the first thing that we wanted to acknowledge is just we're very mindful of the timing of the conference this year. It's nearly Christmas, it's cold, it's dark. We all kind of have huge workloads, and we're really appreciative of you all carving out the time to join us today. We know that everybody's really busy, but what we hope is that you go away at the end of today feeling really pleased that you kind of were able to take the time, feeling really energized, hopefully having lots of ideas, lots of kind of nuggets of wisdom that you'll take away with you, and just feeling that it was a really good use of your time, despite all the pressures that we are well aware that you're all under at the moment. I've been thinking quite a lot about leadership recently, and for a number of reasons, and I'm just going to kind of share a bit of my thinking at the moment just to set the scene and kind of as a start for the conference today. So I have a couple of different leadership roles. I'm academic lead for the Peer Partnership, which is public involvement in education and research at Bournemouth University, and part of the Research Centre for Seldom Heard Voices. So leadership's been a really interesting thing to consider in those contexts about what leadership really means. And very recently, I've taken on a new leadership role that's very relevant to the context of the conference today, which is Director of the National Centre for Cross-Disciplinary Social Work, where a lot of the speakers and certainly the organisational team for today are from. So I think kind of the first thing you kind of need to do as a leader, isn't it, is really kind of just stop and think about what that means. What does that mean for me? What does that mean for the organisation that I'm part of? What do people around me need that to be? And it's been leading to some really interesting conversations and discussions and reflections, and I think there'll be useful ones for everyone here to be having through the day. The other reason I've been thinking a lot about leadership is I'm writing a chapter at the moment about leadership. So these are the thoughts that immediately came into my mind when Tilia asked me to do the welcome and to share a few thoughts. It's an interesting chapter around leadership. It's for a book that's the Research Handbook on Leadership in Social Care and Social Work. And it's edited by colleagues at the University of Birmingham who are doing some amazing work around leadership in social work and social care. But they've brought together a really kind of interesting, diverse group of people from a whole host of different countries to reflect on and write chapters about leadership. And they asked me to write something around lived experience involvement and co-production in leadership. So of course, the first thing that we did is looked at how can we co-produce that chapter. I think leadership in a co-production context is really interesting because it's co-production. It's all meant to be about equal partnership for equal benefit. It's meant to be democratic. It's meant to be shared. It's meant to be teamwork. It's not meant to be about hierarchy. So actually, is there even a role for leadership in that context? So I've joined with a really experienced public contributor, person with lived experience, Lynn Laidlaw, to write this chapter together. So to kind of role model some of our kind of thinking and practices around co-production and what leadership means for us. We've decided to call the chapter I Lead and You Follow, Challenging Concepts of Leadership in Co-Production, because often we think of leadership as I lead and you follow, but I doubt there's very few of us here that kind of assigned to that kind of leadership model. So we've been kind of really reflecting on what leadership, what power, what responsibility means in that context. And actually, it all comes back to collaboration and that art of collaboration. And I think it is an art. It's not a science, because it's all those skills that we have around building relationships, about building trust, about bringing people along with us, about fostering psychologically safe environments for people to thrive. It's about creating conditions where people can really excel, regardless of life experience, status, role, positions. People all have something to contribute, and we can create the conditions for that to really flourish. I think there's a real responsibility, isn't there, for us as leaders in that space, particularly in co-production and collaboration, about really kind of challenging some of the barriers and creating some of the enablers around it being this space where we can bring a whole range of different voices, and all of those different types of expertise are valued. I'm always quite drawn to the different leadership models that are very value-based. Compassionate leadership, so those principles of attending to, understanding, empathizing, helping those around us. Inclusive leadership, this idea of really valuing and embracing diversity and recognizing that actually everybody that we bring together around a table will have had very different life experiences and opportunities, and lots of barriers in the way for some people, and that not everyone will have experienced life through us, and it's about really embracing those differences and valuing that diversity. Just kind of parting words, I guess, for as we kind of launch the leadership event today, I was thinking about different nuggets of wisdom that I often get when I come to conferences. I always feel it's worth my while if I make one connection or go away with one idea or one kind of collaboration that's going to come out of the day. So I was thinking about what nuggets of wisdom I've kind of gained from other people that I've collaborated with recently. And immediate two came to mind. So one was from Lynn, who I'm co-authoring the chapter with, and asking her about what leadership meant for her. And she said, leadership is not about doing, it's about being, which I thought was a really powerful thing. And the more I think about it, the more I get from that phase. It's not about what we're doing. It's not about the tasks. It's not about I lead, you follow. It's about how we are and that kind of culture that we create around us. The other nugget of wisdom was from somebody I collaborate with in the Poverty Truth Commission. So I don't know if that's something that people are aware of. There's a large Poverty Truth network and around 30 Poverty Truth Commissions around the country. And I'm involved in the local one in Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole, and part of the national network. And there's this amazing leader, Martin Johnson. He was the co-founder of the first Poverty Truth Commission in Glasgow. And essentially what a Poverty Truth Commission is it brings together people who are leaders, people of influence, people of power within a society, within a town or within a city, along with an equal number of people who are living and affected by poverty every day. And the idea is that you spend a whole kind of year getting to know each other, spending time, building relationships, collaborating, building connections, rather than rushing into doing and solving. So I approached Martin and said, what does leadership mean to you? And we explored some things around connection, collaboration, and listening well. And by listening well, we mean really listening well and not just people that agree with you. The real nugget of wisdom that I took away, and I've thought about it every day since he said it, is he said leadership starts with stillness. And the more I think about it, the more I've got from that. He defines that as just stopping, taking stock, remaining calm, looking out for one and another. He talks about calmness, our willingness to be still encourages that stillness in others. And that was the absolute opposite of what my life and often our daily working life is like in leadership roles, where actually it's always about busyness and doing and reacting and firefighting and problem solving and solution finding and having a vision and moving forward all of the time. And there was a huge amount that I learned from that nugget of wisdom from him, that actually part of leadership is the environment that we create, it's the culture we create. It's also about just stopping, taking stock and listening. It's about that stillness. So that's my message as we lead you into the leadership conference today. We really want to encourage you to connect, to collaborate, to listen and to listen well. Hopefully you will all go away with at least one nugget of wisdom from one of the presentations, the discussion, the panel that we've got today, or even just you being able to kind of reflect on your own thoughts, your own plans, your own ways of being, as well as doing in terms of leadership throughout the day. So last thing to say is really just enjoy the day. We hope you get a lot out of it. And I will hand back to Tilia. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mel, for giving that brief overview of what you feel leadership is all about. it certainly resonated with me, and I've taken a couple of golden nuggets already away from this, so thank you for that. And I want to start off this little conference by saying that we probably have listened quite well, or at least we've tried to listen well, to our students on the leadership courses, to our practice partners, to our colleagues, to collaborate, to bring together this conference. And I'm going to share very briefly my screen, and probably should say that this conference is not going to be a death by PowerPoint event. We're going to start you off in a minute with Colin, who's going to talk about times of change. Now, I'm exceptionally grateful for Colin to take this keynote forward, because we had a different keynote speaker arranged who couldn't come due to personal emergency that appeared. And I guess over the past week, it's been a steep learning curve for me to realize how I deal with change when things aren't working the way I want them to work. So a huge thank you to Colin to take on this baton and run with the keynote. We then have a little talk by Rejoice and Lyle together with me to talk about reclaiming resilience, where we have listened to CPD students and leaders and practitioners. We then have Tilia, who will talk about cultural change and her perspective as a practitioner working with international nurses. Then Orlando and Sarah are talking about leading change. We've got breaks in between, and then Rachel and Matt will talk about appreciative inquiry and their experiences. And then we'll have a panel discussion. Now, during all of the talks, I would encourage you to use the chat. It will be monitored throughout by myself and the colleagues around. We will have question and answer parts of all of the presentations, and we will seek your views to bring into the panel. We have some panel themes that we're going to discuss, but from our experience from the last conferences, the more information there is in the chat, the more interactive you are in there, the more people get out of it and have nuggets of wisdom. So I would like to encourage you to do that. You have all the information for the speakers on our website, our new National Centre for Cross-Disciplinary Social Work. I put it in the chat there, so if you want to have a little browse and find out some more information about our individual speakers, there you've got it all in one place.